Yes, everyone, welcome back and to another podcast on the channel. We have the main man himself, Mr. Alan McCormack. Mate, how are we?
Yes, all good, all good.
Good
Looking forward to
stuff.
this.
I was going to say, glad to have you on. Busy
Yeah.
this time of night. The kids are going to bed. Gets you out of a chore, I guess.
It gets me out doing bedtime stories, so I'm able to get myself away from the crazy times that happen at bedtime.
I was going to say, mate. But no, cheers for coming on. Let's, like I do with everyone, let's see where it all started. So, when did you first kick a football, and where did it all start for you?
Cool.
Now we're talking.
Pinpointing that is I don't know, just as long early as I can remember. I've always been kicking a football and always been playing about. I've an older sister who's quite into her football as well. So we were always either out the back playing football, out on the street with my mates playing football, and myself, still one of my best friends today. We just grew up with a football at our feet, and no matter what it was, straight out to school, straight out over to the park, or with a little bit of green down the end of a road, and that was like a massive field when we were young. But as we got older, we outgrew it, and we had to move to a bigger bit of land. So yeah, I've always loved football at my feet. I've always loved playing, and then I got the chance to come over and play in England, and I've been here ever since. So it's been a dream come true, and a dream I'm still living now.
What was that like? So I always, whenever I speak to players and coaches, whatever, it's always, in school I was not in an arrogant way, but you were always the better player or whatever. At what point did you kind of know that you were going to get a move and move over to the UK, England, sorry?
Mine was pure luck, probably, than anything else. The Irish players tend to come over to England about 15 for the start of the academies at under 16 level. So I'd been over a couple of times to a couple of clubs and got close to signing for a club, but it never materialised and changed. So I was just back home playing football, finishing my schooling, and I was actually playing Gaelic football more, and I'd starting to play at a higher level at that, and thought the football chance had gone, and then literally got a phone call from my club at the time in Dublin, and they said, "Oh, listen, we promised you a trial in Preston and a trial in England, and we've got you one with Preston, and they're up in the Milk Cup next week. Would you like to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, yeah." So went up for the week, and just everything just clicked. I played really well, had a great week there, and then we finished with a game, and played really well, and I actually played alongside Julian Darby, who was the assistant manager at the time of the youth team with Simon Davies. The two of us played in midfield, and it was just like we'd been playing for so long, and I'll never forget the game. And then after, the manager said, "Listen, I'd love to have you over. Your age, I was 18 at the time. Your age is you'd be in a last year YT, but let's try to get something done." I remember going home then and getting the train back to Dublin, thinking, "Will it? Won't it? Should I? Shouldn't I?" But how many chances you get to? And I knew it could be only for a year, but I've got to give it that chance. So yeah, within the week, then they'd sent the contract over for the year YT, 3rd-year YT, and flew over. I think about 10 days, 2 weeks later, and started pre-season, and on it went from there.
What's that actually like though? Like going in, so obviously comparison to a lot of people, a lot of pros. You, like you said, you've gone in quite at a later date. You could say most players are with a kind of a big club from, I don't know, let's say 7 or 8, let's say. But coming over obviously from Ireland, and did you ever think that when you were here, oh, it's only for a certain amount of time, or did you think as soon as you got that chance, you're like, no, this is a career now?
Going over, I wasn't like nervous around. The one thing I said to myself, no matter what, don't come back with any regrets. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And I think the fact that I felt I'd missed a chance and I know I was getting a second chance, then it just gave me an even bigger drive. I've always been brought, my dad has always drilled into me about hard work and commitment to no matter what you do, whether it be cutting the grass out the back or cleaning your boots or cleaning your car or playing football. He drilled it in about hard work and commitment. And I think that really sunk in then, how much hard work I had to do to give myself the best chance. And even when I came over, I again got a little bit lucky. Preston's first team had a lot of injuries at the time, and I was playing well for the youth team, and I got drafted into the first team to travel a few games and got on the bench, and it just like snowballed from there. And I just kept taking my chance whenever something came to me, and I just got my head down, worked as hard as I could, and yeah, it just started and snowballed from there.
Did when you were playing in those youth team games and then you got that chance to be on the bench and stuff like that, was it at that point it kind of clicked with you like, oh, like I'm actually a football player now? Or was it as soon as you got there and you walked in?
I think when the first game I was on the bench, I think it was Sheffield United away. I remember walking into the dressing room and it was coming up to Christmas time and just seeing my jersey on the wall. I think with my name on the back and the jersey, that's the first time it really, got me attention that, oh, this is serious now. This means something. I never thought I was a footballer, in terms of I've made it. It was that realization of like, God, I've come quite a long way, and there's still a long way to go. But seeing that jersey in the dressing room that night is still a big picture in my mind now. Of that hard work I've done to get there. I'm now starting to see a few rewards from it, and if you continue to do it, plus managers and coaches and people you had around you who were, when I stepped up to the first team, you're getting a lot of compliments from them and little things like that. It sort of does drive you on, and it does give you a little bit more confidence to keep doing what you're doing. And sometimes younger players that have stepped up to the first team before that and not done so well, and it wasn't quite as complimentary as what they were saying at the time. But that night they were very complimentary and wished me luck if I got on the pitch. And I was close to coming on. There was a call to go out and get ready, which at Sheffield United, full house on I think it was a Tuesday night, maybe, definitely a nighttime game, cold evening, with the fans roaring. That definitely sent a little tremble down the old legs. So it was just the start of that whole attitude to work hard, and you get rewards from the kind of attitude.
And when you obviously at Preston, and like I said, you're playing, when you're at Sheffield United, warming up and stuff, and you're jogging up and down there. At any point, is it just you keep looking, and you're looking, or looking for the manager's eye? Maybe that's me.
It was manager's watch. Yeah, I don't think I watched the game after that. I think I stretched just staring at the manager, waiting for the hand. Whether I wanted him or not to call me back, I don't know. I can't remember my emotion that night in terms of what I was feeling. But I definitely, I remember doing a calf stretch and just standing there, and the other two that were out with me were just running up and down. They were like, "You gonna run or not?" So I remember that, and just staring at me. Yeah, you go where managers watch, and even today, if I'm ever on the bench now and manager tells you to go out and warm up, you do spend more time looking at the manager, waiting for the call back to say get ready when you're going on. So yeah.
And obviously your time at Preston was just for that year or 2 years, and then you went off.
I think it was 4 years in total I was there. Didn't play too many first team games. I think it was only about 12 games. Had a loan spell with Southend, Leighton Orient and Motherwell while I was there to try get experience. And then in the end, it was three changes of manager. Craig Brown first, then Billy Davis, and then Paul Simpson.
What was Billy like?
Billy was brilliant. Billy was so intense. Billy was, even to this day, I still use a lot of the things that he would say to me. And at the time, I felt he was really hard on me, really like he would come for me for certain things. And I'd be thinking, I don't feel I've done that wrong. But looking back on it now, it was because he could see what I had as a player, that he knew there was something there. So he was on me all the time because he wanted to get the best out of me. But at the time, I felt like, oh, he's picking on me. He doesn't like me and things like that. But now I'm looking back thinking, no, he was doing well with what he was doing and trying to get the best out of me. So I appreciate that now. He was very intense, training was 100 mile an hour. We went from Craig Brown to Billy, and Billy was Craig's assistant. Craig was a great man manager. Billy took most of the training sessions, and when Billy took the job, then we just flew, just the intensity in training, and that was the introduction into a sports scientist coming in, and we were doing weights, and the training was structured a lot differently, and it was I just remember being 100 mile, and he had to be so fit to play for Billy the way he wanted to play, and played a couple of times under Billy, and then went off on loan again. He wanted me to go to Motherwell for a year and get a season loan up there, so I loved it up there at Motherwell. And I came back, and Billy lost his job then, and he might have moved, he might have been picked up, but we got Paul Simpson in, and just Paul had his own ideas and everything like that, and I was starting to be around the place for a bit of time without actually breaking into the first team. I was turning 22, and it was like, I think I need to go. And I'd had then the Motherwell year, the Leighton Orient and Southend before that, where I'd been on loan and played most weeks. So I was getting that taste, and I wanted to have that taste every Saturday. Occasionally I'd be on the bench with Paul, and occasionally I wouldn't be. So I decided to move and try look for football on a regular basis, and ended up moving to Southend then on a permanent.
And what's that like? Obviously, that kind of, I would always say it's like a massive culture shock, or you correct me if I'm wrong, from obviously Preston to Southend in terms of lifestyle, from moving up north to down south, from being in Motherwell to down south. And what's that like in terms of like a team environment? Do you see that in a team environment? But I guess maybe because
yeah, you do. I never really took note of it because I was just like, buzzing to play every week.
Yeah.
Always looking forward to the game on a Saturday. So I've never really not understood the culture of a dressing room and how the dressing rooms are. I just kind of fitted in, got around the younger boys, and you just get along with everybody. And most dressing rooms I've been in have always been, a great dressing room. And Preston was a superb dressing room. A lot of senior pros in there. So being a young lad, it was quite an intimidating place. And Motherwell was a mixed, and then Southend was a mixed as well. So it was quite easy to fit in. To them dressing rooms, there was never anything that I came into them and thought, oh my God, this is what's going on here. It was quite easy to fit in. I think as long as you're working and you're giving everything, a lot of players will give you the respect, especially when you're playing and training. So it was pretty easy to fit in. The moving, I never minded it. I'd moved away from Dublin, so whether it was up north in Scotland or down south in Southend, it was quite fine for me to do that.
And what was that like? Was that a long deal that you signed there, or?
Yeah, it was a 2.5 year deal. Yeah, 2.5 year deal. I signed in like in November for a couple of months on loan, and then it was at the end of January. It was permanent for the rest of the year, and then 2 years after that. So I ended up another 4 years there as well, which was, I loved it down there, and I'm back there now. So absolutely loved my time at Southend.
Would you say that kind of stood you well for that time at Southend, where were you playing week in, week out, I'm guessing, at this point?
Yeah, I started playing. Yeah, that's when I started to become a weekly player then, and I was playing every week, and it was 3 o'clock. It was business time, and Southend had a great 2 years before that. They got promoted from League Two and then won League One the following year, so they were in the Championship then. So playing against them teams in the Championship and the squad we had and the way the club was gone was just an exciting time. And to be a footballer, I was still young. I was, I can't even remember my age, 24, 23 years of age, and I was playing week in, week out in the Champ. So I was, just enjoying my time more than anything. It was just a great time to be a young kid, living that dream and playing at the level I was at. Yeah, it was brilliant.
Who did you work under your time at Southend when you were?
There was only ever one manager, Steve Tilton. When I signed, he signed me there, signed me on loan, and then he was still there when I left in 2010. So yeah, it was only ever Steve Tilton there. So Mark Mosley's been the second manager I've had at Southend. So yeah,
I was going to say. But so when you say about your time with Billy and in terms of how physically demanding it was, as such a young player, or as a player even so young, you've worked under so many managers at this time. Was it, because I try and explain to people that aren't coaches or aren't players, and people don't understand how can you get used to working with one manager and then the next minute it's another manager, and then you've got to move somewhere else and go somewhere else. What was that like for someone on age-wise is quite young, but you've worked under so many managers at this point?
Yeah, it takes you a little bit of time. You kind of have to go in, and you usually get fed into the team environment, into the manager's way of playing. And I think a lot of times you see when players join clubs now, they're on the bench for a couple of games, or unless you're Premier League and they pay a lot of money for you generally go in, have a week on the bench, and then you'll have a good week's training with the manager, and the manager will tell you his style. And to be fair to Steve Tilton, we were all about the basic stuff. Do it right, do it well, work harder than the opposition, and with your creative players that you've got, create chances and try to score. And nothing was ever too complicated. So that was a smooth transition into that. Yeah, I haven't found it too difficult going in. As coaching's evolved and as the game has moved on in the last few years, last 10 years, I'd say, yeah, it can be difficult to move into an environment where you've been so used to one style and one setup. The training weeks are the same, to then completely different and shifted a completely another way. All managers are different. All managers see things differently and expect things done differently. So that you've got to get used to very quickly, but you do get used to it as well. If you do change environments, you do get used to it and you do kind of take things on board a lot quicker. So yeah, it hasn't been too bad. I haven't found it too difficult.
And your time then at Southend, that came to an end. And where did you end up next after that move?
After Southend, I went to Charlton. I signed a 2-year deal there. Lasted a year. I was just not in a probably great place confidence-wise. I wasn't enjoying football. We had a tough year the year before with Southend. There was a lot of problems off the pitch for the players and the club. Which then led into games on a Saturday, which then we were getting beat every week, and the confidence had kind of gone a little bit. And I walked away from my contract with Southend with a year left in order to go and be settled somewhere else and enjoy playing football again. But kind of I got the move to Charlton and I thought, okay, I've gone to quite a big club here now. It's time to, this will really progress me, and it just didn't happen. Charlton were probably going through that transition as well, where quite a few players come in from where the club were 2 or 3 years previously to where they were then, just didn't match, and the players didn't match. And I can probably only speak for myself really, but I didn't match the club at that time. The way I was playing, my confidence being low, I just didn't match the club. I just didn't enjoy it, didn't play well. I had a few good games here and there, but consistently
Where
I was
were they at that time? What league?
League One. Yeah, they were in League One.
Who was that under?
Phil Parkinson.
What was it
Phil
like?
brought me in. Phil absolutely brilliant. Phil worked so hard. The training was brilliant. Tried to get the best out of everyone. There was nothing that you couldn't. I don't think anyone you meet couldn't say a bad word about Phil. Really loved my time there working for him. Just me, the way I was playing at the time, I just couldn't find that spark to get going, and I was just lacking in that confidence and belief in my own ability. And then when the results aren't going well, and that continues in a new club, it just became, a snowball effect, and the performances kept getting worse and worse each week, to eventually where I was just, being left out, for the best as well, because I wasn't helping the team. So we had a change of manager with Chris Powell then come in January, and he came in. I played quite a few games under him at the start, but then my performances dropped again, and I went back to how I was kind of during the start of the season. And yeah, he took me out at the firing line and left me away from the match day squads, which I probably needed, because I was able to kind of go away and self-evaluate a little bit more then, and try to understand, where I'm at and where I want to go.
And was that when that first started happening, was that quite a hard time in terms of yourself? And obviously you spoke about your career so far, and in terms of where you've gone, and then you're here, and you speak about it at the beginning, and how any opportunity you get, you put 100% into it. Was that quite hard for you to watch, where you're not in a good space where you can't give that, would you say?
Yeah, it was difficult, because all I ever wanted to do, and all I ever wanted to achieve, was to win games and play football. And at the end of the day, 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon is what we get paid for. You can train till the cows come home, or you can do as little training as you want, but you get paid for Saturday. 3:00 business time, that's when the pressure's on. And to not be involved in that again, and sometimes not want to be involved, and I think that was the thing that disappointed myself the most, is there was games where I was like, I don't want to be here. I'm really nervous before. I don't get nervous before games. I quite like the excitement, and myself and a few others call it smelling the fear. I quite like that tunnel, standing in the tunnel, seeing your opposition and going out on the pitch and the crowd going. But then to be feeling like I don't want that. Yeah, it was just, I just needed to kind of understand where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do, and I was at a crossroad. By the time the end of the season came, I was at a crossroad. Do I want to continue playing, if it's going to be a slippery slope to not actually enjoying playing football, or do I want to go and do something that I really enjoy doing, and what is that I want to enjoy doing? So the summer became quite a big conversation with myself and family to understand what I wanted and where I wanted to go. I still had the love for the game, massive passion for the game. That's never gone. It was just that performances of them, and it was with that little thing. Social media didn't help.
Never
Some of the
does.
stuff that can get said on social media. Then thinking, are they right? Am I really that rubbish? Should I really get out of the club? And little things. And I know it's very, very small amounts that do it, but they're the ones that stand out. They do hurt, and I never wanted that. All I want is for people to go, you know what, he gives 110%. Can't fault him. He's had a poor game on the ball, but he's given 110%.
Yeah.
That's all I think a lot of footballers want to do, is to make sure that they get, not everyone's game is perfect. You never have a perfect game, but as long as you work extremely hard and you give everything for the shirt that you're wearing, I think people will respect you and people will understand it just wasn't your day. So it just all changed for me that year, and I really questioned, do I want to go back playing next year? And I went back in for pre-season. They brought in a whole load of new players, and I knew I was going to be involved. I knew I could go if I could get a club, and then a few clubs had rang, and I was no interest in going there. The question mark started to come up. Should I just pack it in and move away? I was 26, I think 26, 27. And I was just, questioning, is there a better line of work out there for me? Should I go straight into coaching? Should I try to get some badges done and go in? Or will I regret it? And then, I just got a phone call one day from Swindon. My agent rang me and said, Paolo Di Canio wants to see you. He wants to have a meeting. Would you be interested? And I was like, oh, Paolo Di Canio. Okay, he's no mug. He certainly had a hell of a career and played at some of the biggest clubs in the world. And I thought, I'll go up and have a conversation with him. And the conversation wasn't even 5 minutes old, and bang, the spark was back, and I just knew what I wanted to do then. And I kind of went up out of courtesy. If a manager rings me or a manager wants to have a chat, I will always go meet them, or I'll always have the conversation with them. If I do end up going somewhere else, I'll always ring that manager first that I've spoken to before it gets announced or before anything happens, to say, listen, I've made a decision, thank you, but I'm going to go. So I wanted to do that, and then just bang, he was just out of this world.
I was going to say, because I'm glad we're on this point, because I must have 1,000,001 questions.
I have 1,000,001 stories.
So the first thing I'm going to say, and if people haven't watched or listened to the Under the Cosh guys with Parkin and Brownie.
Ferry.
So what's the story about there's no days off? And tell people when I say this.
No, that's true.
But in terms of no days off, talk me through a generic week so people actually understand there is no day.
The first day you walk into pre-season, you will do 36 days straight of double sessions. Every day.
And how long is a session?
2 hours. And then you break for 3-4 hours. So you'd start at 10:30. You'll finish about 12:30, 1:15. Then you go have lunch at 1:30, 2 o'clock. And then you sit around and you're back in the training ground for 4:30, 5-ish. And you may start anything from 5:30 to 6:30. And you'll do another hour and a half, 2 hours. Oh, ruthless. And that was every day.
And what's he?
36 days straight.
And was that just his thing, or was that?
That was his mentality. That's the Italian way of life. That's they do in Italy. They don't. Every day is preparation. You got prep, and where Paolo played at such a high level, to come in and be at a League Two club, and see players not be able to do things that Premier League players were doing around him at the time. Sometimes he couldn't get his head around that.
Is that all elements as well? Is that like from a technical standpoint, a physical standpoint? Is that every part? He just sometimes couldn't get.
He would lose his.
What was his thing about? Is it sauce? Tell us a story about the sauce.
You weren't allowed sauce. So our lunch was cooked all Italian style. So the pasta was al dente. It had to be cooked with a specific way. It was tomato sauce, fresh made tomato sauce, and then chicken or salmon. Don't ever dare put ketchup or mayonnaise or any. Don't even look at it. There was nothing was allowed. Don't even look at it, because he would go, and he had all the staff, all Italian, would be walking around, and we trained at Liddington and would come back to the ground for lunch, and then we'd sit around for an hour or two. And there was nothing. It was water, I think there may have been juice, like an orange juice or something like that, and then pasta, a chicken or salmon, some vegetables, and that was it. And then some Italian meats. It was always Italian meats, which are massively high in fat.
I was going to
But
say.
that was their diet. So everything, it just became, it was like we were an Italian club.
Really?
Yeah, there was no ketchup or anything like that. We played Soy explains it. He explains it much better. We played a pre-season game and we came in and it was like a local club and they were feeding the players after it, and it was sausage and chips. And we literally stood in there, didn't know what to do. And we thought Paolo had gone. Next thing, the sausage and chips. One would have it, two would have a bit of ketchup on the top. And next thing he came in, the fear of God went over every player. Oh, the way Soy explained it was brilliant, because that is exactly what happened. Sitting on the couch, you got boys with a bit of ketchup, trying to finish everything. Oh, it was like a luxury to us, like a luxury.
And you obviously you see from a lot of people, and they've said this, and I'll ask you the same. Is that the fittest you've ever been?
Fittest by a mile.
Really? And do you look at it now, and can you see the difference? Obviously your age and stuff is everything, but if you were under him right now, do you still reckon you could be?
No, I'd be injured all the time because it was that hard. So Monday would be long distance running,
Just
and then
every Monday.
Every Monday, and then Tuesday was medium, Wednesday was sprinting, but then you do your full training. So you do your long distance. It'd be 1,000 meters, 800 meters, or something like that, around a couple of pitches, and all timed physio, the fitness coach would run with you, and then you'd go into 11v nobody type shape. But you'd be doing that for half hour, 40 minutes, and you'd be blowing the whistle on mannequins that are set up with different colours, and you literally had to sprint to these mannequins. And then as soon as you got there, you didn't just stop. Everyone was on their toes,
getting in the shape.
Toes, and he'd stare at everyone. If you were a blade of grass, so he would spot it and he'd be on you, and he always used to walk around with a ball under his arm. But his half volley was on lock. Absolutely, he would just roll out of his hands and he'd blow his whistle and say, like, counter attack, defend. So he had attacking colours and defending colours.
Yeah.
And he'd say attacking blue right winger, and he'd be 50, 60 yards away, and he'd half volley this ball just casually, and it would just hit the mannequin nearly 6, 7 times out of 10. He'd hit the mannequin from that distance, and he had that same flair as a player, and he knew it as well. He knew it. And it was just relentless. And Tuesday be 11v11, but no tackling. So he'd pass the ball. One team would pass the ball, and every player that got it, the player who should be pressing them had to go and press them. And then everyone else would shift in around. And then you'd wait, and you'd be on your toes again. And then he'd shift it to the next man, like a centre midfielder, the other centre midfielder. And then everyone would one out, would drop back around. Everyone's just moving in sync. It was just constant, just this flow of players moving around. And then he'd flip over to their team. They do it, and we'd always finish with 11v11 on a really small area, and it was like car crash TV. Just there was so many players in this small space, but he'd join in sometimes, and you could nail him, and he would nail you back, and he loved it, absolutely loved it. Yeah, he would throw his elbows about. He's like lunging in on tackles, and you'd lunge in on him. He'd be like, "Yes, come on!" Yeah, he was brilliant, absolutely. Every day he was at that time,
and obviously
hard.
Yeah, I was going to say, physically, mentally hard as well. And I think we've all seen like when Simon says all the stories and stuff, and I remember it now, and it's all coming back. Where's in goal when he got subbed off? Leon Clark when they had nearly at the bus stop. When you're in the chair, like let's say for example, if you can tell us a game where he's lost it and everyone's. And it's proper lost it. Like we've all been in the situation at whatever level where you're sat there and your manager's just lost it, and there's no one can even talk to him, and it's just going. And what does that feel like as a player? And looking at him and knowing like, no, but you're Paolo Di Canio, like, and I'm seeing, and it's
it was harder that Paolo was like the most passionate man in the world. The two worst ones were the Leon Clark and the Aldershot game when we could have been promoted, when there was, I think, 6 of us caught out. There was about most of the team went out on a Saturday night, but I think 6 of us put our hand up the next day or on the Monday when we got found out. And then after the game at Aldershot when we lost, that was the worst I've ever seen a manager react. Like you couldn't, if you don't dare catch eye contact, everybody head down. just like, if he says anything to you, just do it. Just don't reply to him. Don't make him come for you because he'd come for you. And even the Leon Clark, when he came back into the dressing room, we had a table in the middle of the room, and it was like teas and sandwiches on it, and that just went into the air. The coffee was and tea was all over people. It's boiling hot down there, like, ow, like, no, you just have to sit there and just think, oh my God, like, please.
Did you ever have, like, what did he think about you? Because obviously, if anyone doesn't know, but I think I can say it without even asking you, you don't shy away from a tackle, shall we say? You're a very physical player. You like to get involved. What was? Did he love that though? I'm imagining that he loved that.
We got on really, really well. He had a lot of time and care for myself and a few others, where he just kind of, I think because of how we walked and played, that's how he sees everybody should be. Now, I'm not saying nobody didn't care or nobody didn't work hard, but people do it in different ways. People show it in different ways. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Cads wore his heart on his sleeve. Soy Ferry, they played with this just way that you knew they were giving everything. You knew they loved the jersey. You knew they loved playing. You knew they loved what the manager was trying to do. All these, traits that you're giving off, and he just loved that. And I got on he was there 18 months, and probably for 17 and a half months, I got on extremely well with him. But then leading up to the end, I was club captain at the time, and leading up to the end, he was really having problems with the hierarchy in the club about it just being changed hands. They promised him funds for January. He wasn't getting it. He was fuming about this because he wanted to really push us. I think we were second or third in the league. And he hadn't come in for the week because he was trying to negotiate with the owners. He wants more money, And so we'd been training. And I had come down with a sore throat. So as the week was getting on, it was getting worse and worse and worse. So we got to Thursday, I'm training, my throat red raw, struggling to get through training. Came in Friday, assistant manager sent me home. So I go home, don't bother going to lunch around. I think got halfway through the session and he sent me home. Saturday, woke up, it was like swallowing razor blades. I was like, there's no way I can train today with a weekend off. I can't remember why. So I went down to the walk-in clinics. The doctor had me throat checked. I thought, Paolo's not in today. The staff aren't in. The lads will only do a little bit. I'll get down to training after. I think it was 8 o'clock in the morning. I got in there. It opened. The moment it opened, went in till 10:30. I thought, I'll have plenty of time. 5 to 10, I'm still not into the doctor. I'm like, oh my God. So I'd already texted the physio to let him know what was happening. He was like, well, I'll let Fabrizio, the assistant, know. Next thing, I get a text, 10:05. Gaffer's in. I thought, oh my God. Please just hurry up. Next thing, I get called into the room. It's about 20 past, coming up 20 past 10:30. The lads are starting training at 10:30. I get a missed call and a text message out the physio. You better get down here now. Gaffer's like raging, you're not in. Thinks you're trying to skip training. I thought, no. Explain to him. He was like, it's like he was
not explaining to him.
He was an English physio. So he was like, he wants you down here. So I got out about 11:15, rushed down, 11 o'clock, got into my kit, back out. Doctor gave me, didn't give me antibiotics, couldn't see the infection. So I thought, oh no, I've no infection. If I had got antibiotics, it would have been okay because I could have proven I've got a throat infection. But I didn't. She just said the normal paracetamols and anti-inflammatories that way. And then I'd come out to the training pitch and he stopped training in front of everybody. Got everybody into the circle.
So you've run over mid.
Yeah, I've gone in, got changed, gone in to see the physio, and he was like, "It's not good. Prepare yourself." And I thought, "Oh my God, he's going to be fuming." I've gone outside, and he's just gone, "Oh, Macca's here. Come on in. Let's everybody give him a hug. Come on." And then just lost it. Opened up on me. Stripped me of the captaincy. Took the captaincy off me. Like completely, just annihilated me in front of everybody. And he's just like, now on, this is not how my leader acts. From now on, you are not my leader. You are not captain anymore. I was just mortified, like embarrassed, devastated. I couldn't believe what was going on. Like I was only trying to do the right thing.
What do you do? Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you do then as a captain? Like to people that don't get it, what is it? What's that like?
I got the captaincy because of a similar situation that happened with Paul Caddis. He'd done the same to Cads in front of everybody. stripped him of the captaincy in front of the group, and then gave it to me in front of the group. And that was extremely awkward because I was like, Cads is our captain. He's our leader. We follow Cads. Like, now all of a sudden it's being thrown on me. I'm thinking, oh, well, this is embarrassing. This is quite awkward. So at the time, I just thought, I've just got to get on with it and just get my head down. The lads were like, pat me on the back, say, listen, just keep your head, like, don't. And we went in and had a conversation later on. He was just like, didn't believe my story, didn't believe. But it was a tough week for him. He was going through, he was getting a lot of stuff on social media and things that coming for him. And he was having a hard time. He's so passionate about things. Like, when I mean passionate, he would die for the club. And then things were going wrong, and I don't think he felt the club were as passionate about the club as he was. Where he couldn't get his head around that. He was like, no, we die for this club. Like, die, come on, we this is us. And so yeah, it was a tough week. I mean, I just think everything came to a boil, and he just made a decision on through emotions that were happening off the pitch and on the pitch as much. So, and we were playing Tranmere Tuesday night, and then Sunday he quit on Sunday. Left, walked away, wasn't thing, and ended up quitting on Sunday. So we were like, oh, you ain't got a manager now. What's going to happen Tuesday? So we ended up travelling to Tranmere on the day at like leaving at 12 o'clock with pre-match in a service station. Oh, it was everything to try and get us to lose that game, which was a shame. Because we were just a massive professional club at that time. We ended up winning the game. We went top of the league then. But then all the backroom staff left. The backroom staff took it that night, and then Darren Ward and Tommy Miller took over for the weekend, and they just pulled me into the office and just said, "Listen, Mac, you're going back as captain. You're the club captain. What happened last week was out of anyone's control." So that Cy Ferry took the armband that night at Tranmere away. So yeah, it was a learning curve, to say the least. But that was Paolo. Like, Paolo was I've still never met a more passionate man in my life, on the pitch and off the pitch. He was incredible. Coaching, knowledge of the game, out of this world. Every player, our analysis would be, every single player had a folder, and you'd click it and we'd go through every single player. Be an hour and a half, sitting there 5-10 minutes on each player, what he had for breakfast, what foot he kicks with, which way they like to attack first, strengths, weakness, everything. Absolutely everything. Detail of the man was, he would finish training, go home, and there was every staff member around to his house. They'd cook, watch football, clip and paste, watch, prepare, next day in and prepare, next day in and prepare.
And do you think that's a regimen? Do you think obviously then he got to move to Sunderland and things like that? And obviously we've all seen the passion there. If none of you guys have seen the passion at Swindon, you need to. But do you think that's maybe a reason why, when I think you think about it, you think, why would you not get a job? But then do you think why he's not been in a managerial kind of job?
I'm surprised he's not.
Do you think it's the passion
job
much?
And
the kind of,
I think what may found it hard for Paolo when he went to Sunderland is at Swindon, players were on average 2-3 grand a week. So with them players, and you can say to them, you're not playing this week, you're not in my plans. You can just sit there and the club can afford to pay the wage and not play. When you're on 40, 50, 60 grand a week, or whatever the Sunderland give or take up there, them players, them owners and CEOs are not going to let somebody on 40 grand a week sit on the weekend bench, sit the weekend at home. They want them involved. They're paying the money. So that's where it probably became so difficult for him, because he had to involve these players that, in his eyes, didn't match his passion for the game, didn't do what he wanted to do, didn't train the way he wanted to train, because training was tough and you had to be on it in training. So I haven't heard too many stories of what it was like up there. So do
you think if he's given time, like in terms, and I mean time like 2-3 years with a club, so he can eventually get the right people in, people like yourself that you want to train.
Yeah, I think if he gets his own players in, his own ways of doing things, then yeah, he could certainly, he would definitely, he'd a bit of a, how do I put it, not a hatred to the English mentality, but he always questioned the English person's mentality on the way they train. Like the Wednesdays off, he brought a trainer over from Italy when he was playing at West Ham and Charlton to go in and train on a Wednesday. He was like, no, you don't have days off. You got to prepare for the game, so I'll prepare you to train hard. So that's the way he expects everyone else to be. And I think probably with the game, the way it was changing, players stood up a little bit more now to the managers, where probably the 10 years, 15 years he was playing, it was instructive. It was, you will do this. Yeah. And not bully, but it was that aggressive, like, you will play here. This is what you're going to do. If you don't, you're out of the team. So you had to do it. Where I think when he took over Swindon and Sunderland, I think maybe players stood up a little bit more. Players had a bit more power. Mm-hmm. So therefore it became a little bit more difficult for them to kind of manage them players. And I think the man management side of them is probably where we would need, I don't know, maybe an older manager or an older ex senior pro manager that could deal with that and to keep them calm, because his coaching levels were phenomenal. Yeah, were phenomenal. And it's a shame we don't have him in the game, because even his interviews, I look back and see some of the games on now, and his interviews after were just incredible. You could sit and listen to him for hours. So yeah, he was like, even that incident at the end of his time at Swindon with me, that makes nothing to the legacy he left behind in my eyes.
Oh, definitely. Cool. Now where to go from there? So from Swindon, obviously you've done all that, and then you got the move to Brentford
after that. Yeah, we just been, so we were top at the time of Swindon, and then we fell away a little bit, but then managed to get into the playoffs. And we ended up playing Brentford in the playoff semis. And they beat us on penalties in the second leg. So they went off to the final, and then just got chatting with Uwe Rosler, and he was like, listen, regardless of what league we're in, I want to take it. And the talks just started. And I had agreed a new deal with Swindon in the January time, and then the new owners came in and they were like, yeah, we'd give a shit. And then it just kept dragging out. And they said, oh, we'll talk in the summer. And then they came back with a reduced offer, and the terms had completely changed. And I just thought maybe that's a sign to move on. I was starting to get ambitious then. It was all about winning leagues and getting promoted and playing as far as I could. So yeah, within that 2 years of where I was at Charlton to where I got to and I was wanting to go to, I felt Brentford was a place where I could achieve that better, and I wanted to make the move, and ended up going there, and I had it again. Probably one of the best 4 years of my life.
I was going to say, I think if many people think about yourself and your time, it's definitely the time at Swindon and Brentford where a lot of people, I would definitely say, remember you. What was it? Because I remember at that time when you were at Brentford under Rosler, that team, I always look at it and I think that was a special team. Like yourself. Yeah. Like, just go for a couple of names that were in that team at the time.
We Adam Forshaw, Jonathan Douglas, Harley Dean, Alan Judge, and who else? I ended up going right back. Tamani Di Guerrara.
Yep.
Otherwise known as Dave. Tony Craig. Jake Bidwell.
In
Clayton
every
Donaldson.
single position, you had, like you said, all players that, if they were all split up at other clubs, you probably wouldn't think anything of it. But you've got all your various players, and then you name all of those players, you'll all work hard. And I think...
Oh, it was the standard in training was, and it was the start of... Swindon was the start of it as well, but probably what got embedded into me as Swindon was that how hard you've got to work just to have success. Mm-hmm. Like, it's great watching players on a Saturday and winning a game of football and how hard they work on a Saturday. But what people don't see is the Monday to Friday, how hard Monday to Fridays are. Tuesday especially is, sometimes Tuesdays can be much tougher than a Saturday because of the physical output, your training schedule, your gym after it, just trying to get home and get some sleep to recover. Wednesdays are always like a sore day. And the hard work that goes into a Monday to Friday just to win a game on a Saturday, now repeating that week in, week out, and trying to keep them levels up is mentally even harder. So where Swindon had built that into me, then I was starting to, all of a sudden I was in a dressing room where there was 20 players like that. There was 20 players who had built into them, who were starting to win things, who were hungry for more success, and it just literally, everyone in the dressing room bang clicked straight away. There was not one bad egg in the dressing room. There was not one person you would ever go, oh, I don't fancy him going into a battle. Every single player, everything. There was never any issues. There was never any problems. It was literally trained, or like animals on the training pitch.
Was that from the manager though? Do you think? And that
Uwe was again very intense, very intense. Yeah, he was very intense. Uwe, he, like training was high paced, high standards, high work rate. Everything was stats. We had everything on a computer. This is what you're doing. Yesterday you only done 5K. The rest of the lads done 7. I need more. Like it was constantly, you were aware of everything. They'd go up on the wall. You knew what you were doing, and it was all of a sudden there was no hiding place, which is a good place to be, because that creates, you know, a massive winning mentality in a dressing room. And if everybody's on the same page, which we all got to, it took us a little bit coming into the season, but then as soon as things started to go and snowball, it was like you just couldn't stop it. It just kept going and going. The football got better. You know, the effort got better. The players coming into the club were becoming better players, because the club was, you know, we were up challenging in League One. There was a good chance of going to the Championship. Players want to play in the Champ, so we were able to attract a lot better caliber of players. And yeah, it just snowballed from there, and just everyone around, like look at like Harley D and Tony Craig, and you Jonathan Douglas in the middle of the pitch, Dewey Dallas, like these players, with Adam Forshaw, like technical ability, like still. I've not played with many players. Alan George at the time was, you know, starting to get into the Irish team, unplayable, and we just had this great bond, Clayton Donaldson, but all extremely, extremely humble guys off the pitch. Right? If that happened on the pitch and there was an argument because of a tackle or something like that, and you'd have an argument on the pitch, you'd walk off and instantly forgotten about. You'd be back having lunch, sitting next to each other. And then even off the pitch, our gym was getting better, our staffing was getting better, our food was getting better. We got introduced to sleep doctors. We like everything possible that could increase 1% of a player. You were getting this information. You were getting introduced to this stuff, and all of a sudden you were like, if you wanted it, you could go as high as you want, as long as you put the work in, and they were willing to, and that just became, you know, a recipe for success.
And do you look back at that now? Obviously, you've done a lot of your coaching badges already, and that's probably an area you want to go into. Will you be taking stuff that your time at Brentford and your time at Swindon, specifically just those two main areas, into and how you want a club to be run, in terms of how you want to coach a team?
Everywhere I've gone since, I've taken something from Brentford in me, and the same things generally try come with me each time. And the loads of small little things, like the dressing room, especially having a good dressing room, controlling the dressing room, the dressing room can manage itself. You don't need the manager pulling players in and saying you're out of order or you're not training hard enough. That's all got to come from the dressing room. And I found since then, when I went to Luton got that environment, and we got it really quickly. Nathan Jones built that into the dressing room previously, and was slowly starting it. Eventually he got his players in that he needed to. Got promoted from League 2, won League 1, 2 years on the spin. And then at Northampton was similar. It was the same things were happening in the dressing room that I took with me and needed to watch for and look out for. And if they weren't happening, then it was that conversation with manager, listen, we need to get this, and this needs to happen. And, you know, just little things, trying the standards, not letting people just come out. And Billy Davis was one of the first flicking the switch. He said, you can't just flick a switch. He said, don't think people can come in and just train how you want on Monday to Friday. Come Saturday and become the best player. No, you got to train. You got to train 100%, 100 mile an hour, 100% effort every single day of the week. And then Saturday, it's just repetition. And at the time, I didn't understand that. But being in Brentford and Swindon and Brentford, I started to think, oh, actually, this has got to be every second of every hour of every
look what I can do if I do that.
Yeah, and that's something that I've tried to say to younger players nowadays, and installing younger players nowadays. I'm still working at it, because I'm still got players' head on me, and I still, when something doesn't happen right or something's not to my level of standard, I react probably emotionally different to how I would react if I was a coach. So that's still a work in progress. Yeah, there's definitely Brentford has taught me massive amounts of what needs to happen both off the pitch and on the pitch. And I've tried to take as much as that.
Is that something that, because I massively look at, from speaking to people like yourself and everything, I would look at, like, you can have all the technical elements as a coach and all this stuff, but if you don't have in any way, shape or form those man management, that kind of people skills, like you speak about that, having that dressing room where you all know the respect. I haven't got to sit there and tell you. Do you think without that, or you look at, when you're looking at teams now or going into a game, do you look at that and think you might be really good technically, but you don't have this and this?
Yeah, I think that's, if you look back and probably speak to people of every team that's been promoted, regardless of, I take Accrington, for example, when I was at Luton, they won the league that year. Now, on paper, you probably look at them and think, technically, we are much better than them. Technically, we probably played better football, but we had a few lads who knew Accrington players, and they had an unbelievable team dressing room, unbelievable culture in the club. They won the league that year and done really well the year after that, and the year after that. And they've now created that culture in the club. If you've got a great culture in a club and a great dressing room, and everyone bounces and demands from each other, you get success. Every promotion I've had has been through the dressing room being so good. I've never been in a successful team where the dressing room's half are on that side, not caring, another half doing their own thing over that way. You cannot have it. You cannot, and that's the number one thing I think coach gets right, is getting the right people in his dressing room. Even if the player's so much better than another player, if he's a bad egg, don't introduce him to the dressing room, because he will just infect everyone else and others that are sitting on that borderline, whether they want to become a really hard working, call it the busy players. Much rather be a busy player early doors and get used to that lifestyle, because you'll have a much better and a much longer career than the most talented one who doesn't care, who doesn't work hard, because eventually they'll only get a certain amount of chances, and eventually they don't end up staying in football for a long period of time or having a good career.
I was going to say, and obviously your time now at Southend, what's it been like? I'm not going to say coming home, but coming back to a place where you've been before. What's it?
Yeah, no, it's very, very different. I was out. I got released from Northampton last year, so which was fine. I know at my age, it's players have had a few injuries over the last 2 or 3 years, so there was always question marks going to be at that. So I was fine with Keith wanting to go a different way, and get younger legs in, somebody that would be fitter for longer, and you could get more games out of. And I'd gone back training with them, and then I got a phone call on a Monday night, I think it was, just after the first game, saying, "Listen, Southend they need experience. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "You don't need to ask me twice." There was a couple of things could have happened before that, but never materialised. And yeah, went down, met the manager. As soon as I spoke to Mark, I thought, yeah, I love your attitude. I love how he wants to go about his business. I loved his ideas and playing. Yeah, went down. But when I walked in and seeing how young the squad was, I thought, wow, this is going to be a challenge. Yeah, this is going to be a challenge. A lot of young, no fault of their own, absolutely no fault of their own. A lot of talented players, just not quite ready for first team, week in, week out football. Come on, get 30 minutes, 20 minutes, dabble in, foot out. But yeah, they were kind of from the previous season as well, the way it was going. It was on a downward spiral, and it was difficult to try. But yeah, you could pinpoint where everything was going wrong and what needed to change, but it was difficult to get them changes implemented. So I think Mark's done a great job at the moment. It's changed. The culture in the dressing room's changed. The attitude of people's changed. And December alone, if you look at the month we had in December, when it started to change in November time, all of a sudden, bang, we pick up 11 out of 18 points in December. The Leyton Orient game was probably the amount of effort we'd done over the months, and especially the effort on Boxing Day to beat the local rivals. Just mentally fatigued on that night, and we just didn't perform. Where if we did, we would have, even that not performing, we were still 0-0 at half time, and then 2 sloppy goals cost us. But yeah, it's been, I've really loved it. I had to change a few things about me. The younger kids nowadays, You've got to be careful what you say and what you do with them. When they're 26, 27, 28 years of age, you can have a go at them a little bit differently and a little bit more, because you expect them to be better. You know they're better.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see them being better, or you see them not giving everything. You know, they've got to be told. But with the younger lads, the 18 to 21-year-olds, you've just got to treat them a little bit differently. So that's been a nice challenge for me. I've enjoyed it, really enjoyed it. I can see people massively. We've got a lot of senior boys now around the place, and it's starting to have a massive impact on them in their attitudes off the pitch and on the pitch. And results are starting to show. So hopefully, you know, that continues to snowball and we continue to pick up a lot of points.
I was going to say, yeah, definitely. And
Yeah.
moving to kind of like what you just said there with the young players, and obviously, is management something that you definitely want to go into afterwards? Or?
It's not something I'm 100% set on where I'm going. I'm halfway through my A license. I was doing the 16s at Northampton once a week up there to get some. Yeah, with coaching is, you know, the more you do, the better you become, and the more confidence you get with producing your own sessions and throwing sessions out there. Not sure how they're going to work, but I'm going to show them out there. If you don't, I'll just revert back to things. So that was the idea, and I loved it. The kids up there were brilliant. Some very talented players who I'm hoping I see in the next 3 or 4 years start to make it on the first team scene. Loved it. Then COVID hit, killed it again, and the same with this year. Really, I've not really stepped back into it, but I've got a massive passion for the directorship role within football, the sporting director role. It's becoming big in England, so I'm doing a master's degree in that at the moment. So that's going to take another 1.5 years to finish. But again, just seeing that different picture of a football club, how the football club is run, I love that side of it, and I do think English football has got, you know, a long way to go before they become really sustainable. And you know, that whole setup of a club, the culture, the vision, where the owner wants to go, and can you make it that the owner's not putting his hand into his pocket all the time. That really intrigued me over the last year to 18 months, and I started to look deeper in it at the turn of the year. So yeah, there's 2 lines where I want to go. I'd like to get my A done within the next year.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to do that, so I've got that both sides of the coin, which way I want to go, or if I need to dip in to one if I'm in the other, that might help. So yeah, I'm more going down the sporting director's role, but I do think there's multitasking roles to be out there as well, especially in the lower league clubs. There's a lad on their course at the moment, the Newport chairman, Gavin Foxall, and he's chairman of Newport, but he's doing a sporting directorship role because he wants to combine both roles. So for a club like Newport, they can't be going out and giving 60, 80, 100k for one person to do a role that actually 2 people may be able to combine. So that it's voluntary for him as chairman. So he could do the sporting director voluntary as well. That saves the club, let's say, 100 grand to pay a sporting director. That's a player for 2 years. The way the new budget's going. So, and that could be a very good player. So great idea, absolutely great idea. And you know, I feel that there could be then a manager might want to do it and be sporting director and a manager. Or you might have an 18s coach or an academy coach that's a sporting director as well. So he can dabble in and out of them and save the club's money. Clubs need to save money at the moment. COVID has massively shown that the clubs are probably massively overspending, especially if the fans are not there. So it's opened everyone's eyes to helping clubs become sustainable and produce more talent into the first team that they can then sell on or create revenue that way that brings funds into the club. So it's been very, very difficult. It's a very tough course, very full on every day of the week, studying, researching, referencing, reading, all while trying to play and train and watch football and look at little coaching styles and tips that you can do. So yeah, it's a full on life at the moment.
But no, what we'll do to finish, mate, is I always like to ask everyone a couple key questions. First thing that comes to your brain, just or give you a sentence or two about it. Okay, so best goal you ever scored?
There's 2.
Go on then.
First one, Southend against Preston. First time I went back, 89-minute volley, about 25 yards out, I'd say. Came from a corner, keeper's punched it, and I just ran onto this and just hit it. Couldn't hit it any sweeter. Hit and hope. And yeah, see the crossbar gone down, give it all one of them. And that got goal of the season. And then the second one was Swindon away at Northampton. Again, last minute, I broke from the edge of our box, played a little 1-2. Lad's gone wide, gave it to him, ran into the box. He's played it over the top. I've managed to get me toe on the end of it to control it, and then flicked it with my left around the keeper to win the game. And just the emotions from that is one of my favourites. In terms of what looks the best, it would probably be the Preston one, but what felt the best was probably the Northampton one.
Best play you've ever played with?
This gets asked all the time.
I am going to put you on the spot for one. Or you can give a couple and then say one main one.
Alex Pritchard. Oh, there's so many. That Brentford team, like Alex Pritchard, Alan Judge, James Tarkowski, Harley Dean. Like these players, when you play with them, you realise, wow, you were good. You were exceptionally good. Yeah, Audrey Gray. At the time, just firing. I could name a few. Yeah, either of them. Just always, I loved watching them play and being on the same pitch as them and just giving them the ball and seeing some of the things they done. Even Turkey, he's playing with I'd say he's up there in the best 1v1 defenders in the Premier League at the moment. How he's not got a move to a top 6 club, I've got no idea. But yeah, exceptional talent.
Best player you've ever played against? Like you've not, what a name, but you've played him and he's absolutely torn up on that one.
That's an easy one. Luka Modric.
Yeah.
Yeah, White Hart Lane. I'll get into him. He's tricky. Watched a few clips. I'll nail him early doors. To say he had me doing the Canadian barn dance more than once in that game was ridiculous. He had me on a piece of string. Every time I went, I've got him. I'm going to nail him. Like, not hurt him. I'm going to punch and tackle. He would just chop me and be gone. I gave him about a 1.5 foot space on the sideline one guy, and he's chopped and gone around me in that little distance in the blink of an eye. Exceptional talent. Yeah, that's an easy one.
Best moment in football?
Difficult one because I've been fortunate enough to have had a few promotions, but every one of them's been different. Winning at Wembley has got to be a dream. The only bad thing was no fans, so at least we hold a record for lowest ever attendance at Wembley to win a final. Again, difficult.
One of the promotions, would you say?
Yeah, either the promotions would be up there. The Brentford one, the League One was special because the club had been knocking at the door for a while. It was starting. You could feel the transition it was going under, and the love the fans had for the players was just incredible. Luton's the double promotion at Luton. It's very hard to. Every one of them has been so different but so special that I think it's unfair to pick any of them.
Moment that never happened that you wish it did. So something that, like a deal that didn't come off, or something that should have happened that it never did. No, nothing. Everything's been all right.
No, everything's been all right. I've been happy with my decisions, and there was one time at Southend where Millwall put a bid in for me. I think they were in the champ at the time, maybe, or they were up top League One towards the end of the season. They put a bid in, and I would have really liked that, I think, but again, it didn't happen, so I can't change anything that didn't happen. So, if a Premier League club had came in, then I think that the answer to that would be different. But I've been, I've always trusted my decision and where I wanted to go, and I've been happy with all of them so far. And very sitting on the fence answer.
I was going to say, I'll take it. Funniest moment in football, and I can't even imagine how many. I was going to say,
how long have you got? Well, the Canio ones I've always liked listening to Sawyer, listening to people speak about them. I've always been crying at laughter. That under the cosh one, I was listening to it in the car, crying at laughter because he was explaining them, and I felt I was back in the room. And looking back, it's been incredible. There was one at Brentford where we played Stevenage and got beat 2-1 or 3-2, and we'd gone 1-0 up. It was only the second or third game of the season, and Uwe lost his head after the dressing room, and he'd said something to Harley Dean, and Harley reacted, and we had big, is it Matty Taylor, Birmingham centre half?
Yep.
Remember him? Honestly,
Yeah.
the nicest man, biggest man you'll ever meet, but the nicest guy you'll ever meet. Done his hamstring in the game, and so he was already dressed, and there was a little entrance to the shower, and Harley was sitting next to that entrance, and Tails was leaning against the wall, and Uwe and Harley were just going for each other, back and forth. Harley wouldn't take, and he probably felt it was disrespectful. So they're going at each other, and then Harley stood up. Uwe had said something to him, I can't remember what it was, and Harley stood up, and Uwe's reacted. He's picked up an Actimel, which was kind of half open, and launched it. It launched it in Harley's direction, but it's hit the wall where Tails is standing, and it's exploded, and he's just stood there with Actimel dripping down him, and we were all didn't know whether to and now Harley's seeing red, he's getting pulled away, everything's a couple of minutes later it's calmed down again. Uwe's gone out to do his press conference, and poor Tails was still stood there, hadn't moved, and you could just see him looking down and casually trying to wipe this Actimel off him. Oh, but the Brentford group, we're still in group chats now, and we still meet up whenever we can on birthdays and that like that, and it still comes up on every meet. Every time we meet up, it still comes up. It's brilliant. Such a good moment. That would be the Canio ones are by far some of the most hilarious moments. Looking back, terrifying at the time, but looking back,
I was going to say,
brilliant.
And last one, you've kind of already mentioned it. What is next for yourself? Where do you see your future going after football?
Plans at the moment is continue playing till the end of this year, and I'll make a decision at the end of the year what I want to do, see how the legs are. It's just this time of year, kind of, I'll pick up a few niggles, and the calves aren't great in the heavy ground, so I'll see how I finish it. If I finish the season and I'm playing quite a few games and I feel good, I might continue. If not, I'm currently looking to see if there's any kind of roles in that recruitment, kind of higher up in the clubs, and not the coaching at the moment, to go into and dabble my feet a small bit into the coaching. But at the moment, it's mainly the sporting directorship role is where I'm heading and where I want to go. I like the whole package that a sporting director, technical director, head of performance, it's named in different ways. I kind of really like the way that's done at the moment, and feel that I've got more passion for that at the moment. But I may need to go down the coaching route and get my hours done in that, and get some experience in that on the other side of the pitches as a staff member. So we'll see. I'm not one for planning too far ahead. I know I should, and people do it, and on this course it's all about planning ahead and plan, deliver, review. But at the moment I'm quite happy with how things are going. I just want to play football for as long as I can, because you're a long time retired. So that's the main focus in my head at the moment, is playing.
Nice, mate. But yeah, thanks for coming on. Hope you enjoyed it.
No problem. Really enjoyed it.
That's all right.
I do enjoy it. Really enjoyed it.
There's some funny stories to be told, and I think everyone will enjoy them. But yeah, guys, I hope everyone listening, watching, enjoyed it. Please, if you don't know, just type in Paolo Di Canio, Swindon into YouTube. You'll find out what you need to know. Cheers, guys. Definitely. Cheers, bud. Thanks so much.